As we work our way through the different climate groups, we've now gotten to the severe mid-latitude climates, our D climates. Take a look at their global distribution. You're looking for the light blue and the dark blue colors on this map. As their name implies, they're found in the mid-latitudes, usually between 40 and 70 degrees north, and they're slightly more poleward than our C climates were, our mild mid-latitude climates. Notably, continentality is key for these climates. What I'm referring to is their remoteness from the mild influence of the ocean. So these are typically present in the continental interiors, sometimes at the same latitudes as the C climates. So we're finding D climates in the continental interiors and also a little bit more towards the east coast of the continents. We remember that with the westerlies being dominant in this area, the east coast gets weather from these continental interiors, so that cold winter air is blowing to the east coast. For characteristics, the D climates have 4 distinct seasons. They have long, cold winters, but they also might have very hot summers. Again, this is all about the influence of the continental interiors that get so very cold in the wintertime, but also heat up dramatically in the summertime. Interestingly, D climates generally have fairly moderate precipitation, but they don't really need as much water as a milder climate might need, because they have a low amount of evaporation due to the cooler temperatures, and they have quite a short growing season. Combined, this makes water demands low. Thus, low amounts of precipitation can still support forests. As you look at the distribution of D climates, there's another characteristic of D climates that should be jumping out at you right now, and that's that they're only found in the northern hemisphere. Interesting, eh? Why is this? Well, they're located between 40 and 70 degrees north, and they're highly influenced by the continental interiors. Let's check out in the southern hemisphere. Between 40 and 70 degrees south, there are no large continents. The only little bit of continent here is part of South America, but it's so narrow here, it's highly coastally influenced, so we wouldn't expect a severe climate in this region here. There are 2 severe mid-latitude climate types. You can see them here, the light blue, where we've lumped a bunch of climate codes, and the dark blue, where we've lumped another bunch of climate codes. Can you see the distinction between the 2? The second letters doesn't really matter. It can either be year-round moisture or winter dry season. Notice there's no summer dry season. That's only in our strange Mediterranean climate. But let's take a look at the third letter. Remember, the third letter deals with summer temperatures. Those here in the light blue either have a hot or a warm summer temperature, and those in the dark blue have a cool or a cold summer temperature. Here's a summary of what we've just discussed regarding our D climates. I encourage you to pause the video and take a look at this again. Next, we're going to look at the different subclimates here. The first one here is called humid continental, with the hot and warm summers, and the second is called subarctic, with the cool and cold summers. You can see that the humid continental climates are found between 35 and 55 degrees north, at some of the same latitudes that you would find a milder mid-latitude climate on the west coast. So these climates tend to be in the center of the continent or moving over towards the east coast. They get very variable weather due to being in the westerlies, and they typically have warm, hot summers, as the climate codes suggested, due to the continentality, the fact that they're in the interior of the continent and land heats up faster and to a greater extent than water. This heating up causes convective uplift in the summer and thunderstorms. Into the fall, winter, and spring, frontal uplift is more common when you have warm and cool air masses colliding. Let's check out the climograph. Has a much bigger hill here than in the mild mid-latitude climates. The difference between summer temperatures and winter temperatures is more profound. For this particular weather station, they have year-round moisture, but you'll notice they get more moisture in the summertime with those thunderstorms from convective uplift. And even though they don't get a great deal of rain, they can support forests, which you can kind of see here. I like this picture because it reminds me of home. I grew up in Minnesota, which is over here, which is definitely in the humid continental climate group. Just a reminder that these only exist in the northern hemisphere, but it's not just in the United States and Canada. We also see them in Europe and even over here into China. This is not a picture of China, but I put a climograph from China here. Again, you see the extreme temperature differences from summer to winter. You'll notice in this case, they have a winter dry season and they get more of their moisture in the summertime. I should have put a picture from this region of China here. It would look quite similar. The species of trees and grasses might be different, but the overall layout of the landscape would be similar. Next, let's check out the other D climate, the subarctic. In the subarctic, we have cool and cold summers. The subarctic climate, of course, is found further north, at approximately 50 to 70 degrees, and again, only in the northern hemisphere. They have long, dark winters that are bitterly cold because of the short days and the low sun angles. Their summers are short, but they can be quite warm, especially in the interiors of the continent. Indeed, these subarctic climates have the largest temperature range from summer to winter in the entire world, and we'll see that in the climograph. It's going to be a very steep and large hill on the climograph. These climates typically have low precipitation, but also their evaporation is very low and the growing season is very short, so forests can grow with surprisingly little water. Let's check out a climograph. Again, notice the remarkable difference between winter and summer temperatures. This climograph is just screaming out that it's a subarctic climate. Notice the low precipitation. In a lower latitude region of the world, this might be a desert. But here, it can support dense forests. Again, the growing season is so short, the water needs are not very large. And also, evaporation is minimal, so when it does rain or snow, the water is not lost to evaporation. Here's another climograph. Again, a huge difference between summer and winter, and also very low precipitation, but yet enough to supply forests. Which is strange, right? Because 5 inches of rain in a milder mid-latitude climate or in a equatorial climate would be a desert for sure. Here's table 8.5 in your textbook that gives a summary of the D climates. I encourage you to pause the video and check it out. And lastly, of course, I encourage you to pause the video and make sure that you're able to answer these questions. If any of these questions seem difficult or you can't figure out the answers, go back through the video clip again and see if you can figure it out.